Warning, the following video has not been approved by the Comic Code Authority and is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The.Comic.Assassin. It is Friday, and in fact, it's actually a very beautiful Friday where I'm at. I know it's kind of nice and cool outside, which is very unusual for this type of year down where I'm at, because it's usually hot as balls. But today's the day where I'll let you know what books I picked up this past Wednesday, as well as we do our normal comic book review. And in this review, I'll let you know a little bit more in depth about what happens in the book, as well as what I thought about the book. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. The first one I picked up, had to pick up Absolute Carnage number 2. I'm very much looking forward to it. I still haven't read number 1, because man, I'm trying to get caught up on reading. And that's hard to do. I got Venom, number 17. I went with the 80th anniversary cover. I think it's a sweet looking cover. So yeah, and there's some conversation about what order you're supposed to be reading these in. Is it chronological? Blah blah blah. So yeah, there's some debate about what order you're supposed to be reading these books in, and this also ties into this one right here. Absolute Carnage, the Miles Morales, number 1. I think this is the Young Guns variant. This is actually the variant that you want to get for this book. This is the one that's probably the most sought after as far as regular cover price books at this point. And I was on the fence about getting it, but when I saw this cover, I was like, man, I gotta get it. So yeah, I picked up the Absolute Carnage Miles Morales. The next one is House of X, number 3. Once again, going with the connecting cover. The connecting covers, for the most part, have been the best ones for the secondary market. I don't flip books, but these are the ones that usually have a higher price tag on the secondary market as far as regular cover books go. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. So those are my Marvel books. I'm going to DC. I had to get Batman, The Curse of the White Knight, number 2. Loving that cover, all day long, baby. Pick that one up. And then I had Red Hood Outlaws, number 37. I went with cover B on this one. And this one's spiking too. This one's going for at least 2 times cover price right now in the secondary market. Because there's so many introductions. I think there's 4 new characters in this book. So yeah, I had to pick me that one up. So some of the smaller ones, I had to get Bone Parish. Bone Parish number 12. This is a Boom Studios book, Cullen Bunn. I believe this is the end of this story run. But it does leave you with a little bit of a hanger that there might be a volume 2 coming on. I just love that cover art. That cover art's freaking sweet. So yeah, it's an interesting read. The way it ended, I had missed a few issues between what I read and between this one, so I might have missed something. But yeah, it was an interesting ending, if you can ask my opinion. Before the books that I get to review, the dollar books that I picked up Spectacular Spider-Man, the king-sized annual number 1. It's not in the best condition. A lot of the stuff can be pressed out, but there's some yellowing here and there. But really, it's just one for the collection. But I was excited about finding that. But this one, I was actually surprised to see being in the dollar books, and that is New Mutants number 1. Right? And not only that, it's actually a very good copy. I mean, I see one spine tick, and then I see a few things. A few little creases that can be pressed out. Other than that, this is a freaking pretty sweet copy of New Mutants number 1 to find in the dollar bin. So I am stoked about that. So yeah, that plus the next 2 books that I'm about to show you and actually do a review on are the books I picked up this week. Let me know what you guys picked up, what you think about my pickups. But let's go ahead and get into it. The first one I'm going to review, and I actually reviewed number 1 of this book a few weeks ago. But I'm going to do Resonant number 2 by Vault Comics. First off, a pretty sweet cover. I love the red in here. This is a David Andrew book. But let's just jump into it. So how the first one left off is that there's this thing called the wave that comes on. We don't know what the wave is, but it's kind of created this post-apocalyptic scene. Right? I don't know why I was having trouble saying that. But it kind of picks up where it left off, where there's this dad who has his family. He's got 3 kids. The youngest kid is sick. He has to go try to find medicine for his youngest. But he sets them up in this little secret room where they can detain themselves when this thing called the wave comes. At the very end of the first one, the wave comes. We don't know exactly what happened. And at the end of the first issue, this weird guy kind of popped out. And the dad was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do this. And he kind of knocks him out, which is kind of weird. And then it cuts back to the kids. So the kids are dealing with the aftermath of this wave. And one of the kids kind of like strings up, like they set a trap for themselves. There's this whole thing about like containment, like self-containment when the wave happens. For what reason, we don't necessarily know. But she gets the brother down, and he's like, oh my gosh, look at your arm. And she says, yeah, I thought about my arms without skin. I wonder what they look like. And I started scratching, started peeling. So it makes you wonder, is this wave something that either one makes you like want to act out on your thoughts, or does this actually put thoughts inside your head in which you'll act upon? But it gives you a sense that, yeah, it makes you do something that you wouldn't normally do. Anyway, they bandage her up. They're having some internal dialogue between siblings, and there's a cut scene to this guy outside the house with a knife. Now, this is also a reference back to issue number 1, which I'll explain at the very end. So then it cuts to the dad. The dad who's on the journey for the medicine for his kid. He's actually tied himself up into a tree. Once again, this whole self-containment thing. And he hears this noise, and he's like, oh, I have to untie myself for this. And it's a dog, right? So there's this dog that's kind of loose out in the forest. And he actually makes the comment like, oh, you must taste terrible. And you're thinking, oh my God, is this guy going to like kill this dog to eat it? But no, he befriends the dog, and the dog's along with him on the journey, right? They're going together to seek out this medicine. But then the dog senses something, the guy senses something, and he's like, let's dip out and get off the trail. And sure enough, there's these group of people that come through, all screaming this kind of religious babble like, trust in Ma. Right? Now, I don't know if this is Ma, or if this is Ma. This is a pretty badass looking dude if you ask me. Or if they're just like preachers of this person or whatever they're calling Ma. Like, you don't really know. But basically, this one guy's just screaming out this religious-like babble. And they're all saying, trust in Ma, trust in Ma. And he says, like, your eyes lied to you, so Ma removed their deviousness. And they have these guys who, I don't know if they're followers or slaves. They look more like slaves to me. But they have these bandanas on them. So whether or not they're just covering up their eyes or actually remove their eyes, I don't know. But yes, there's some wicked looking groups out there. Anyway, they pass. They're going the other way regardless. And they come across this place called Hospitality. Now, this kind of reminds me of The Walking Dead. Where you have like all these little settlements pop up. So he's going in this settlement to trade for medicine. And he walks in there and then he hears someone say, hey, I got what you need. And he's like, I'm not here for that. And she's like, no, I wasn't talking to you. And she throws the dog a treat, and it's this lady up in a cage. Right? Kind of remind me of Val Kilmer and the Willow movie. It's kind of up in a cage just waiting. And basically, she sees that the dog has an injured foot, and she's like, I have I have medicine for that. And the dad's like, hey, you have antibiotics? And she's like, yeah, Mary's got what you need. All right, so she's this wicked looking lady. And then she just pops herself out of this cage. So why she was in the cage to begin with, I have no freaking idea, because usually those cages are for people who are been punished for something, and they're to be looked at, throw stuff at, they starve to death. But no, she's just up there for fun, and she just lets herself out, and she's like, follow me, we'll go do this trade. So the guy walks in the house, and he gets freaking ransacked. There's some people in the background. They knock the dog out, and she says, he'll pay extra for the dog. Who she's talking to, I have no freaking idea. I'm assuming she's talking to the dad, but who's gonna pay extra, we don't know. So yeah, the dude got punked, and to be continued on that one. But then it continues back to the kids' side of the story. They're sitting there, they're once again having sibling discussion, like, when do you think dad's gonna be home? Talking about the medicine. And then the youngest kid who's sick is like, hey, do you think that guy was sent by dad to bring my medicine? And they're like, which guy? And he's like, the kid outside. And so the kid's rushing to go outside to see who it is. And it cuts back to the guy that you see with the knife. And that was the kid that they came across in issue number 1, holding the knife. And he's like, hey, I found your knife. And he's holding it in not a threatening position. He's kind of holding it with just flatly in his palm, not like, I'm going to freaking cut you type thing. But we don't know. And that's it. That's the end of Resonant number 2. Very quickly. Overall, I like the book. I'm definitely gonna pick up number 3. The 2 things I didn't really like about the book is, one, it's such a quick read. Like, I wish they would actually get more in depth with the whole, the storyline. Like, what is the wave? It just seemed it went by really quick. It seemed more like it's building up to something. So yeah, that was kind of my main issue, is that there was some dialogue. There wasn't a lot of dialogue. But at the same time, this is kind of like a post-apocalyptic thing. They're kind of segregated. There's not a lot of people to talk to begin with. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest concern, is that it went too quick and there wasn't enough filler for the story. But other than that, the artwork was good. I definitely recommend this book. If you like the storyline of what I've told you so far, you can still get Resonant number 1 and number 2, I think, for regular cover price. At some of your LCSs, or at least online. Plus you'll have to pay shipping and all that. But yeah, it's definitely a book worth reading, and I enjoyed it. Now the next one is from IDW, and that is Mountainhead number 1. Alright, now I read the synopsis, and I was like, okay, this is a cool synopsis, but then I found out that John Lees is the writer on this, and John Lees does another book that I really, really enjoy, and that is called Sync by Comics Tribe. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I gotta do it. So let's jump into this one, y'all. So Mountainhead, it starts off with the scene. It's a snowy background, but you see some gruesome stuff going on. And then you see this guy kind of wandering off, without a shirt in the freaking snow. You're like, okay. And the whole dialogue is basically talking about, we don't know who's narrating this at this point. My father used to say that folk went special kind of crazy for spending too much time in the Rockies. So basically it's talking about people going up in the mountains, which, according to the story, is not a place for man to be, segregated for a long time. And they go a special type of crazy. To me, it's kind of like cabin fever. But in here, it says that his father called it Mountainhead, which is what our title is. And this is chapter 1, Abraham Found. Right? Okay. But then it cuts to a whole different scene where you got these people doing this break-in. And it turns out there's this man and this boy breaking into the house. And we presume they're father and son. And the boy in this is Abraham. So when it say Abraham found, that is Abraham. And the guy's talking about material possessions. These people that were robbing, they feel like these material possessions are their life. and it's easy for them to leave it behind, but they feel like their life's ruined when they come home and they find that it's all gone. And he's like, don't ever let material items possess you. You're better than that. Basically, these are just things. And the kid's like, okay. And then he runs up to a boy's room he's about to rob. And he sees things, and he starts getting a little reminiscent. Like, he's seeing, like, oh, this is a nice bed. There's a guitar I'm playing. I'm seeing family photos. And you get the feeling that the boy is longing for something more than that he has, which is totally understandable. I'm going to point this one thing out, because I don't know what the hell this is. The boy's laying down on the bed, and then there's a clip with him, something in his mouth. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like a little piece of a paper or something like that, and there's the initials DWJ. So first off, when I saw it, I was like, first off, what the hell is that in his mouth? Two, what are those initials? What do they represent? I have no freaking idea. So if you'll have any ideas, I will love to see what y'all think about that, or if you know. Because, yeah, that's the one thing I was like, what is that? Anyway, they do the robbery. They're staying at the hotel. And the kid wakes up, and the dad figure's kind of already awake. And he's like, I'm just having a hard time sleeping. And then he goes on kind of this kind of psychotic rant. Like, all through here, he's just talking about, being trapped in society and his fear of, like, the government and the man and these death squads all being sent out to find people like him and either take him out or make him to conform to society. And this very paranoid rant that he goes through. And he says that any day now he's waiting for someone to come through that door and take them out. Might not be this place, next place, down the road, today, tomorrow, next year. He's always afraid that someone's coming through that front door to get them. And that's what he's pumping in this kid's head. And it shows him with his gun. He's like, I'm ready for him. And he makes this kid promise. He's like, if they come through that door and you can, kill me before they take me and change me. And the kid's like, okay, I promise. And then the guy's like, I would do the same for you. And the kid's like, yeah, well, he has his face like, I'd rather fucking live. But anyway, they're going to do their next heist. And they're rolling in there, they're having some simple banter. And basically, I guess they had been keeping an eye on this place for a while, but it turns out they effed up because old grandpa is sitting there just watching them steal all his shit. And he's got on the phone, and he actually calls the cops, right? That's some pretty cool artwork, by the way. So the guy's like, drop your bags, we gotta get out of here. And they go out, and sure enough, the cops are there. They're saying freeze. But then, this crazy fucking guy pulls a gun on the kid, and the guy's like, Dad, please don't freaking shoot me. And bang. But the bang is, the cops drop the dude. They pull the kid aside, right? And the next scene is the kid being in interrogation. And then you have this woman from Child Protective Services comes in. She goes to talk to him. And the kid's like, what happened to my dad? Did you kill him? She's like, no, he's wounded. So the guy didn't die, but he's obviously is arrested at this point. This is where it gets interesting, if it wasn't interesting enough. They were like, hey, you told us your name was Abraham, blah, blah, blah. We have no record of you whatsoever. But we did run your DNA, and you were not Abraham. Your name is James Stensgaard. And does that mean anything to you? He's like, no, what are you talking about? Basically, it turns out the dude kidnapped this kid 10 years ago when he was 3 years old. So I guess he's 13 years old. And has been raising him as his own in this paranoid life of freaking thievery, right? Yeah, that's pretty fucking twisted, man. That is pretty twisted. The kid doesn't know what to do. He throws up all over the place. He just got through a curveball. Anyway, they're like, we're returning you to your family. So I guess his family's up in British Columbia. The the service worker is bringing them back home, and she's trying to talk to him like, no, it's going to take some time, but you're going to get used to it. The media has already found out, so when he arrives, like all these media people are there trying to harass him with questions. But basically, he does get reunited with his original family. Now, the whole time, he's still apprehensive. He's like, who are these people? I don't know these people. As you can imagine, it's a pretty twisted backstory. But at the same time, when they're having this reunion, the kid sees something coming out of the woods, and he's like, what's that? You see a foot, and this guy comes stumbling out of the woods. And it's the same guy you see in the panel number 1. So, and apparently it's someone's dad that's there locally. Anyway, they're meeting for dinner, and they're talking about the guy that they found coming out of the woods, and apparently he went up there with a group of people. All of them are still missing, which, by missing, I'm assuming those are them missing, alright? But you can tell the kid's just struggling, right? Like, he's in a place that he was taught he should never be. He's conforming to society. He's in one place. He's not having to run. Like, you can tell he's uncomfortable. So he's like, has this awkward dinner. He gets set up with his old room. And he's just having this internal dialogue. The parents are actually trying to be cool. Like, we know this is going to take time, but we're just so glad that you're home. We never gave up on you. We love you. But then the kid, like, he's been kind of effed up in the head. So he's sitting there, he's looking at the door. And he's waiting for him to come in, just like that psycho was telling him. So he's looking outside, he's seeing the woods, he's seeing, getting a thought in his head, right? And he opens the window and he just sits there in front of the freaking cold window. And he's pretty much having this thought like, don't slow down, don't get comfortable, don't think you're safe, be ready to run. Right? And that's how it ends. Yeah, I love this book. I think this is a good book. I'm giving it a B+ because it's hard to get an A in my book, but I think it's an original story. Yeah, it's actually one of the first IDW books that's came out as far as the new series goes that I'm actually really excited about. There's 2 things I didn't like about the book, and that is one, and this is just me personally, the way some of the art was done, and I know it's just the style. But like you see like the guy's head, like it looks off, it looks kind of funny, kind of cartoony, and then between him and the guy who pops out of the woods, like they almost look like the exact same person because of the style of artwork. But other than that, I think the artwork was great. My other biggest complaint is the size of the text. I mean, when I first started reading this, I was like, man, golly. I mean, I know I'm getting older, but do I need to really freaking put on glasses to try to read that small text? So yeah, the text was really small, but those are really my only 2 complaints. Obviously, I wish there was more backstory in knowing where they're going with this book, but there's enough intrigue with all the concepts they put in this book that's making me want to come for issue number 2. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed Mountainhead number 1. Go check it out, guys. Especially if this is kind of your genre type book. It's probably going to go more of a, horror, suspense type route. This is a book you might want to be picking up. But that's it, y'all. Let me know what you guys think about my picks. Let me know what you think about the review. If you've read these books, I would love to hear what you guys think about it too, whether you share the same ideals or not. But with that being said, man, this is Drewski, the Comic Assassin. I want to thank everybody for checking out this video. I hope all of y'all have a great weekend. We got college football coming up, baby. Alright, so yeah, y'all take some time out tomorrow. Put the books down for a second. Go watch your freaking game. Or not. Read books, I'm a college football guy, so I'm definitely going to check out some football tomorrow. But yeah, Thank y'all so much. This is the Comic Assassin. We'll see you next time. Happy hunting.